Then grease me up, woman!
Hey folks, this is Grease Scotsman. Welcome to the Boneworks Mapping Guide, Part 1, Getting Started. This tutorial will cover how to install everything you need and then build your first custom map. First, head to melonwiki.xyz and click on the Get Started button. In the Requirements section, install both the .NET Framework 4.7.2 runtime and the MS Virtual C++ 2015 through 2019 redistributable package. Once those are installed, grab the Melon Loader installer exe and place it in a folder like so. Before we install Melon Loader, we're going to grab all of the mods and Unity tools that are essential to making a custom map. Eventually these will be included in one simple package, but for now, head to bonetone.com and download the latest versions of the following mods: Boneworks Modding Toolkit, Custom Items Framework, Custom Map Interactions, Custom Map Item Spawner, Custom Maps, Easy Menu, and Easy Menu Utilities. You get the custom map template by following the link to the custom map guide found in the dependencies listing for the custom maps mod on Bonetone, or by simply going to bit.ly custom map guide. Within this guide is a link to the custom map template. Install or update Melon Loader by pointing the installer to your Boneworks game executable. There's also an option to uninstall if you ever have the need. Extract all of the files with the .zip or .7z extension. With 7-zip, you can do this in one action by right-clicking on the selected files and choosing Extract to and look for the */ option. This will automatically create a folder for each zip file. To keep things organized, I'm going to put everything I just extracted into a folder called Extracted. Now hop into each folder and move anything with a DLL into the game's Boneworks /mods folder. If your Boneworks game folder doesn't have the folder mods as a child of the folder where the game executable is, just create it manually. Ignore the custom map template folder and the custom map tools Unity, not needed unless making a custom map folders for now. Our focus is to just install the DLLs that are the actual mods we intend to use. You can optionally download the Start Here mod, which, after you load the game at least once with this mod installed, you'll have a file in your Boneworks user data folder. In that folder will be a modprefs.ini file, where you can set the scene name that you want to automatically load into instead of the main menu map. Look for the section called Start Here in the file, and if it doesn't exist, you can either run the game once to add it, or simply type it in yourself. Start Here technically loads you into the main menu map, but then immediately sends you on to the map of your choice. It's a surprising time saver. If you ever need to return to the main menu map, you can simply do so from the usual Scenes menu in-game, or set the enabled value in your modprefs file to false. And if you're like me, the other essential Boneworks mod is the mag eject button, but it has nothing to do with custom mapping, so let's move on. Now let's install Unity. Be sure you specifically have the Unity Setup 64-2018.4.10f1.exe. Other versions of Unity will not work with the custom map template. With Unity installed, the next task is to add the custom map template and custom map interactions Unity tools to it. By default, Unity creates a folder in your user's documents folder. Drop the custom map template folder that we extracted earlier into this folder, like so. At the time of this recording, Trev has not yet publicly released his ammo prefab. If it's available now, copy the asset bundle along with the custom map template folder into your documents Unity folder. Next, hop into the custom map interactions folder and then into the custom map tools Unity not needed unless making a custom map folder. Copy the assets from here to the custom map template folder we just put into your documents /Unity folder, like so. Now, with everything in place, let's open the custom_map_bbl Unity file found in the custom map template /assets folder. Now let's talk a bit about what goes on when you load a custom map. As of right now, there's no way to load directly into a custom map. Instead, we technically have to load into an SLZ map, like Blankbox, often preferred since it has almost nothing in it. And then we load the custom map into the Blankbox scene and teleport the player to the custom map's spawn point. This usually means the map is really just 100 or so meters hovering above Blankbox. If you fall and don't hit a death trigger on your way down, you'll likely tumble back into Blankbox, or Tuscany, or whatever map you've loaded into before launching your custom map. It's not recommended to use Tuscany for custom maps, as it has its own skybox and the geometry of the map impacts performance. You may have noticed the map name of custom_map_BBL. BBL stands for bye-bye lights. In order to make custom maps run smoothly and not have their lighting overridden by whatever is in the original SLZ map, when spawning into a custom map, all of the lights and their data are removed. This means the mapper gets full control over the look of the lighting and atmosphere. So let's return our attention to the Unity window. I won't be going over how to use Unity, as there are tons of tutorials already out there. That said, there are a few things that we need to tweak to avoid problems. By default, the custom map template does not have a skybox. So, if we were to try to run the map without making any changes to it, we'd actually only see things out of one eye, among other issues. To fix this, we can simply apply the default Unity skybox. To do this, you'll need to click on Lighting in the inspector. If you don't have this tab, you can enable it through the Window menu, then Rendering, and then Lighting Settings. I recommend docking this window with the inspector, as you'll be accessing it often. Under the Scene section of the Lighting Settings tab, for the skybox material, click the tiny circle to the right of the field and select the default skybox. Next, set the sun source to be the directional light, which is an object already in the custom map template scene. Now we can successfully build our map and won't have any visual errors. Another critical step is to add all of the layers used by Boneworks. These are essentially baked into the game, so if you don't have these set in your editor, you can't readily access the various filters and functions they provide at runtime. Add layers to Unity by clicking on the Edit menu, then Project Settings, and then find the Tags and Layers section. Pause the video here and make sure your Unity project layers match the screenshot on the right. Exit and restart Unity to save your changes. Adding a skybox tends to be a once and done affair. However, if you ever do have visual errors, like objects only appearing in one eye, the key things to check are the following. 1. Is every object in the hierarchy a child of the custom map root? Objects that aren't under the custom map root will either not show up at all, or may only show up in one eye. 2. Is the scene named custom map BBL? Or if you don't want to use a skybox and prefer the legacy style, is the scene named custom_map? Either custom map BBL or custom map are a requirement of the custom map template. 3. Are all objects that have shaders using the Valve/VR standard shader? And 4. Are all non-rigid body objects set to static? It is important to set every part of your map that won't be moved around by physics to static in Unity. This flags it for baking by the light mapper. If the light map concept is new, here's the general idea. Every time you change the static geometry of the map, you'll need to rebake the lighting. Baking the lighting will apply a light map to the parts of your map that don't move, like the floors and walls. A light map takes the textures, like the concrete that adorns these walls and floor, and then adds in information about how the light and shadows are being created by the non-dynamic light sources. In this case, our directional light that we set as the sun source when we were setting our skybox material. Note that the custom map template puts this light in its own group called Baked Lights. The end result is that the wall and floor textures have light and shadow mapped onto them, as if the lighting information were baked into the concrete texture, and provides a fairly natural look without causing a huge performance impact. You'll also notice a light probe group along with the directional light. Light probes basically sample the areas around them to provide information that helps dynamic objects like the player and our weapons be smoothly lit or shadowed when passing from a bright area to a dark one. There's a bit more to it, and I recommend watching a few YouTube videos to learn more. Baking lighting takes some time. Even with the simplicity of the custom map template, you're looking at a minute or so of bake time. To avoid this during development, I highly recommend taking a screenshot of these default settings and then turning most of them way down. You can hover over a setting to see what it does. While you're developing your map and blocking out geometry for gameplay, the last thing you want to do is wait for over a minute each time you want to build and then playtest. Further, if you have a really beefy graphics card, I recommend enabling the progressive GPU light mapper option. This is much faster than the CPU, typically, but it's not nearly as detailed and accurate. Personally, I turn down the light mapper settings and use the GPU light mapper. I also turn off the auto-generate feature, as it causes stutters in the editor, while Unity continually tries to keep the light map up to date as you shift the camera view. I tend to only rebake light if I'm ready to build and preview some large change to the static geometry. If your static geometry hasn't changed much, you don't need to worry about rebaking during simple testing. If your map will have any NPCs in it, you'll need to also bake a nav mesh. This is a quick and painless process. Under the Navigation tab of the Inspector window, simply click the Bake section and then the Bake button down below. Done and done. All areas in light blue will be traversable by NPCs. However, if there's ever a spot you don't want the NPCs to reach or path upon, you can select the object and set it to not walkable. Do keep in mind that Boneworks NPCs are physics-based, so traveling up a steep incline can prove difficult for null bodies. Next, be sure to bake your occlusion areas as a performance-saving measure, especially for large maps. Simply click the Occlusion tab and then bake. Since we now have a nav mesh, let's add a NPC using the Custom Map Unity tools. Drag the Custom Map NPC spawner prefab into the scene. Make any NPC type or behavioral changes as needed. The NPC prefab will automatically unpack when placed, so you don't need to worry about any further changes you make impacting the prefab. Let's also drop some weapons into the map. These are in the Custom Map Item Spawner prefab. Drop it into the map and select your weapon. And while we're at it, let's test triggers to ensure they work. Drop a custom map trigger prefab into the map. Don't worry about changing the scale or size of the object itself. Just make changes to the box collider volume. This trigger will spawn a null body and have it immediately target the player. The trigger will only be activated a maximum of 2 times and then will stop functioning. We'll also give the trigger a delay so that the nulls won't spawn right on top of each other. If Trevs releases ammo boxes, you'll be able to do this next step. Otherwise, simply grab some ammo from the blank box dispenser before launching your custom map. Trev's experimental ammo box prefabs show up with this pink unknown shader. I'll fix this shortly, but for now I just want to drop these into the scene so we can build and test this map. To build your map, you'll need to select the Melon Loader menu, then export BCM. Give your map a name and place it into the Boneworks /userdata/custom maps folder. If these don't exist, simply create them. Make sure to use the same spelling and capitalization as shown here. You'll get a warning about a camera being in the scene. That's alright, just hit OK. Then, wait a bit. If all has gone well, the export will be successful. While the map is building, I tend to launch Boneworks if it isn't already running. Note that the first time you launch Boneworks with Melon Loader and mods, it will perform a few one-time procedures. Just wait patiently. Once in game, head to blank box if you don't have TrevTV's Start Here mod already sending you there. Now bring up the normal Boneworks menu, but notice that there's an item called Easy Menu on the upper left radial. Select it. Once in Easy Menu, use your joystick on your right controller to make selections. Select Custom Maps, and then select the file name of your newly created custom map. Congratulations, you have a custom map with an NPC, a trigger, a baked light map, and some weapons. So, what about creating some custom geometry? Unity comes with Pro Builder, which is a fantastic tool for blocking out geometry. If you're really dedicated or lack modeling ability using something like Blender, Pro Builder can even allow you to build a full map. By default, Pro Builder and Unity in general doesn't have any grid snapping enabled. This means that making clean edges and lining stuff up will get very messy very quickly. I highly recommend installing ProGrids. This will supply a small interface that allows you to control how objects snap to an imaginary grid laid out across the X, Y, and Z axes. If you're new to Pro Builder, the main idea is that you start with a primitive shape, and then you can resize and extrude its faces, edges, and vertices until you have the geometry that you want. To resize something, simply go into face mode using the 4 buttons at the top of the scene view. Select the face and then drag in the direction that you want to resize. To extrude a face, hold the Shift button while you drag it. Notice the difference here. By extruding, I've left a set of vertices and edges where the original shape used to end. I can now pull out this section and repeat the process all the way around this floor. Next, I'm going to grab the top faces of the parts I just extruded and turn them into walls. I highly recommend diving into a few long-form tutorials on ProBuilder because the power of the tool is pretty incredible. Note how, in seconds, we've now turned a platform into a walled room. Let's add a few more things, build, and playtest. Remember the checklist. Are non-rigid bodies static? Does everything have a Valve VR standard shader? Have I baked my light map? And of course, in my case, since I just changed the geometry that the NPCs could walk on, I need to rebake my nav mesh too. The good news is, since maps are just launched on top of an SLZ map like Blankbox, you can simply rebuild, export, and then reload your custom map, and all of the changes you've just made will be in place. You don't have to restart Boneworks or even leave the map in order to see the changes that you've made. Oh, and did I mention that triggers that apply forces to the player and triggered kinematic movements work in multiplayer? Oh, no, it spawned for me. It did spawn for me.
Really?
Yes. This trigger over here, the one that works for you, is set with the default layer, so anything's allowed through. Oh, shit! I forgot about the other one. I put another one in my map.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I have in the middle of the map one that just sends you straight up. So let's see if I can get it. There it is. Whoa. Yeah, expanding what's possible is on the top of the agenda for custom map interactions. Thanks for tuning in.